Welcome to the week 4 go-to session. This is the final session, yay, of the 4 such go-to lectures we're having this month. The good news is not only is this the last session, but it's going to be short, okay? I don't have really lecture material to go over. I don't have a presentation. I only have just reminders about what you need to do this week. Okay, most of it is self-explanatory. So I'm going to focus most of my attention on peer review because maybe that's the only thing that needs some explanation. As you can see with on my screen, it's mostly like other weeks, except there's no Achieve module this week. So you completed those in week 3. There still is a final journal response. So you'll summarize the readings and just give me some proof that you attended or watched this lecture. Okay, so find something specific that I said, or you know what to do. So let me start with the big guys first. Okay, so we're working towards this here, the 4.6 activity, the revision activity. Revision is exactly what it sounds like, right? You either have handed in your essay Sunday night, or to some people I gave extensions to, because I don't know, there were maybe a dozen students where I actually had to go past the midnight deadline, and even though I got them finished, most of them overnight, still, since I went over the deadline, I said, if you need an extra day or two, that's fine. So I assume some of you maybe handed in your essay, some of you are still in the process of doing so, but you'll get feedback on that from me, obviously, but also from 2 of your classmates. And you'll use that feedback to revise. And here's the activity. You can read the instructions on your own, but really, the gist is you're going to fix what needs to be fixed, either in terms of content, okay, so big picture stuff. Okay, I think here it says, for example, address any global issues mentioned in your instructor feedback. Global issues doesn't mean things like world poverty or world peace. No, it means big picture things. So these are issues of thesis, content, organization, right? So if it's week 4 and there's still no thesis in the paper, right? A thesis that has 3 talking points, 3 analysis points, that's probably, yeah, that needs to be fixed. So yeah, there are global issues, and then proofread your essay for local issues. Obviously, local issues mean smaller stuff, grammar, spelling, APA. So yeah, essentially a top to bottom revision. Uh, the draft was supposed to be the strongest work you could produce for that stage, but still, you're going to get feedback, and you're ultimately going to hand it in one more time. Be careful though. There is a penalty for not revising. I can't remember if it's listed here or if it's in the rubric. Let's see. I think it's in the rubric, but anyway, there's a detail there where there's a penalty for a 20-point penalty for lack of significant revision. Now, listen, if you are in one of those rare cases, okay, it does happen, but it's not super common, where maybe you received a very high grade on the essay draft, right? Like a 98, a 99, a 97. And sure, maybe you have a couple little things to fix, maybe some grammar issues, or maybe there's a citation that's not quite perfect. Yeah, you don't have to worry about, should I be revising everything? Should I be rewriting the paper anew? No, of course not. But lots of people probably have a mixture of things to focus on, both big picture things and smaller issues. And yeah, if I'm reading the same paper that I read in the essay version, and nothing has been fixed, or nothing much has been fixed, sure, maybe a couple tiny things, a spelling error here, missing comma there, but really revision in its true sense has not been tackled. There's a penalty for that. Okay, so be careful. I hate having to do that, but yeah, it's this assignment, by the way, is worth the highest percentage of any activity this month. It's worth 15% of your grade. So why would I award 15% for just uploading the same file as you did for the essay draft assignment, right? Why would you receive 15% for essentially not doing revision? Um, Again, you have 2, well, actually, no, this time you have 1 sample, okay? My Jeep essay that was included in the week 3, the essay draft activity, yeah, that was sort of my finished version. I didn't have a draft and revision version, but the Diet Coke essay, it's actually the one you looked at. If you did decide to look at the models in week 3, that's actually been improved. So if you look on the link here, again, this is contained in the instructions. you can see the revised version of the Diet Coke essay. And if you go through it, you'll see that it is, I think, if I remember correctly, now the introduction's a bit more robust. Before, I think it was a bit shorter and to the point. And there's some other changes made throughout. Okay, so you can see an example of, and actually, this Diet Coke example, if you've been looking at the models, remember every single writing activity comes with completed examples. So the Diet Coke one exists throughout. You had her worksheet in week 1. You had her outline in week 2. In addition to my Jeep outline, you had her essay in week 3, along with my Jeep essay, and now her revision. Okay, so do take advantage of these models. Sometimes people learn more from the models than they do the lectures. Sometimes people just have to see an actual example of an ad analysis essay for everything to truly click. Okay, so there's that. So yeah, revision, you can read through the instructions on your own, but I think revision is pretty self-explanatory. You do have extra credit if you want to take advantage of it. The 4.5 assignment is a revision plan. You don't have to do it, okay? So decide for yourself. But essentially, yeah, again, you can read through the instructions, but you basically have to answer these 4 parts here, okay? Ask you to summarize the feedback that you received from me, summarize the feedback that you got from your peers, because we're going to discuss peer review in a moment. And then after considering the feedback, okay, what big picture changes do you plan to make to your essay, and be specific? And then part 4, what small picture issues need to be addressed, be specific. And yeah, you get up to, I think, 5 points added to your revision grade. Up to, okay? So I decide. So if you answer those 5 things, but they're really super general or super brief, yeah, you might not get all of them. John says, can we get actual credit for the bonus if needed? I'm not sure what that means. Can we get extra credit for the bonus if needed? I mean, I think I've answered that. I mean, listen, if okay, good. There are rare cases, very, very, very rare, but it happened last month where one guy just, yeah, all of his grades were super high. And so I applied to the 5 points, not to his revision grade because he was already pretty much near a perfect 100. But I applied it to an earlier assignment where he needed it. Well, he didn't really need it, but something where he got, like, I don't know, a 93. So I just put the 5 points there. But yeah, make the decision for yourself. Okay. Some people might just say, I don't need the 5 points, or the 5 points isn't really going to change my grade anyway. You might look at your overall grade and see I am safely in B territory. Doesn't matter if I get an A or an F on the final assignment, I'm probably in B territory. So yeah, probably if you're in between grades, right? You're worried that you might be right at the edge of one grade or another. Maybe you take advantage of this, okay? But you certainly don't have to. Okay, so we talked about revision. We talked about the extra credit thing. The journal, weekly journal, that is self-explanatory. You already know what to do with that. And by the way, everybody who's been completing that has been doing awesome. It's so easy and quick to grade. Just boom, 100, boom, 100. Same thing with the Achieve modules, right? Doesn't it feel good? Maybe you're not thrilled to do them at the time, but they're easy grades. They're like gimme points. Okay, so there's only one other thing we have to talk about, which is peer review. Now, as I just said, you can read through the instructions on your own, but I'm going to show you what the gist of this is, okay? It's handled entirely through Turnitin.com. So let me show you what it kind of looks like. Fortunately, I don't have a way to show what it looks like on the student side of things, but I can show you the 4 prompts you're going to be answering. Okay, so let me go into the peer review activity itself. As you can see, it ends on July 27th. Do I have the date right? Today's the 24th. So, yeah, Friday. Okay, so you have until Friday. Don't forget, because it's not Sunday like other assignments. It's Friday. And that's as far as I can stretch it. Because, actually, I didn't want to go in that way. Hold on. Let me go into the settings. Okay. Save. Here's where we are. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't show what it looks like on the student side of things, but it's really intuitive. Um, I don't think I've had a problem with students being confused. You guys are used to using apps and computer programs and websites, so I think when you begin it, there's a button like start reviews or write reviews, and basically, here's the thing: two papers will automatically be distributed to you randomly. Okay. I don't believe they both come to you at once. I believe you have to start one gets distributed to you. You have to start another, the second gets distributed to you. But you have four things to consider. Actually, each prompt has multiple questions, so you're actually answering several questions per prompt. And you can see there's a minimum answer length of 100. Oh, and you do have a little bar that will appear in the top left of your screen that shows you how close you're getting to 100 words. Now, how often do I actually count your words, which requires me to copy the actual text of your response, bring it over to Microsoft Word, highlight it, use the word count tool, and see what the word count is? Rarely, but I can eyeball. I already know that, like this wording here, this is probably around 60 words. Okay, so I kind of know when an answer is very short. And plus, okay, look. So first is a reflection type questions that fall into the category of reflecting. State which advertisement was chosen. That's easy. So if you're reading someone who's writing about McDonald's, you will write this person has chosen the McDonald's first day essay, or excuse me, advertisement. What is the thesis as you see it? That should be very clear. It should be the final sentence of the introduction, probably, and it should clearly list three talking points, discussion points, analysis points, right? And that's what the next question is. What are the main points discussed? Okay. So if you don't see those things, that should be a hint to the classmates paper that you're reviewing that that person needs to work on that, right? Okay. Did the writer have some sort of hook or opening? And so on. Okay. I'm not going to read all the questions out loud, but you can see that, for example, this one here, what questions do you have about how your peer has presented his or her essay? What would you like clarification about? What ideas would you like to see more of? Here's the thing, okay? Let me give you the gist, the Reader's Digest condensed version of what you need to do here. I would love for this to be as easy to grade as your weekly journal responses. Meaning, here's what I'm looking for as an instructor. You have to respond to two of your classmates' papers that are distributed to you. Okay? I should have a clear sense that A, you've read the two papers. Okay, that you've read them and read them somewhat with care. And B, that yes, you're thoughtfully responding to these questions. So you're not racing through them. Or be careful here, because most students are perfectly fine. They understand what this prompt is asking for. What questions do you have? What would you like more clarification about? What ideas would you like to see more of? Obviously, these are questions about the essay, okay? So, um, what questions or concerns do you have about the essay? What about the essay would you like more clarification about? I ask this because every month there's two or three students who just ask general questions of interest, like, so why did you choose this ad? Or, do you like video games too? Or what is it about your video game background that makes you interested? No, no, no. Those are off topic personal questions. These should all be based on the essay, okay? So think as writers, and then so on. Making two direct suggestions for improvements. Okay, emphasizing the positives that you see. Okay, basically, if you answer these questions with care, with thoughtfulness, yeah, you should be receiving a high grade. Now, I do have two cautions to mention. Okay, two things that you need to watch out for. One is, yeah, proofreading, because this is online, even through another website, right? Turnitin.com, and because people are so used to posting discussion threads on Reddit or posting Facebook status updates or tweets, right? People, or just any old fashioned discussion board, people get a little bit lax which is fine because normally when you're doing these things, it's not for a class. An English teacher isn't reading them. But don't do that here, okay? I really do see an increase in just the most basic errors. And I'm not even just talking about spelling and grammar, although I see those too. No, I see lots more formatting errors where things look smashed together. Like people who are watching this session won't be able to see this because they can't see the chat window, but I'm going to type in the chat some smashed together sentences, short sentences like, uh, I love school. It is great. I love it. I know, terrible sentences. But stuff like this, can you see? Like people don't even put spaces. There should be two spaces after a period. Remember, we talked about this in the APA formatting session last week. Or they don't put commas after they don't put a space after a comma, right? Everything just looks smashed together because that happens when you're either typing fast or you're using a mobile device, right? You don't care that much about formatting or spacing, or it's just understood that there are going to be errors because you're typing with your thumbs. This is not that, okay? Every piece of writing you should do for this class, that includes not just the major writing assignments, that includes messages to the instructor, that includes answering these peer review prompts. The writing should aim for the highest level of professionalism, okay? Just as I try to take care to write to you, all of you, and I'm sure I make errors too. Sometimes I see them, and yeah, it's embarrassing. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't catch that, because I too am writing fast and grading fast and try to catch errors, but sometimes mistakes happen. I understand that, but when I see a pattern, or typing, yeah, Sean says there versus there, or this, typing lowercase I instead of capital I. If I see it once, yeah, I'll ignore it because, hey, we all make mistakes. If I see it twice, I'll still say, okay, it's happened twice. When I see it 3, 4, 5, sometimes dozen times, that's a pattern. That just means the person sat down, banged it out, and yeah, that doesn't look very good. Okay, so be careful of that because I really do see an increase in proofreading, grammar, formatting because of the online nature of this assignment. Because what you're doing is, it doesn't look like this, okay? You'll have these prompts just as they look, but you'll have a little text box window, kind of like when you complete your weekly journal entries and you type in the box. For some reason, yeah, it encourages people to sort of forget a lot of the basics. So be careful of that, because when I do see a pattern, then I start taking off points. And it's supposed to be 5 points per instance, like of a major error, like typing lowercase I, or not putting an apostrophe in a contraction, not beginning a sentence with capitalization, right? Like really, really basic stuff. It's supposed to be 5 points per instance. Like I said, I'll ignore a single slip, maybe two, maybe three if there's a lot of writing in place. But no, once I see that it's a consistent pattern, then I start taking points off. Okay, so that's caution number one. Caution number two is, yeah, I need to feel like you've read both papers and that you're responding with care. That you're not just, I want to see specificity, okay, not generalities. Um, so when you're answering these questions, yeah, make sure that you're answering them with some depth. Okay. And by the way, you should have no problem getting to 100 words, the minimum answer length, because again, there are multiple questions that are contained within each of these prompts. So that should not be difficult at all. Um, a kind of maybe final piece of advice. I think one of your chapters in the readings for this week talks about peer review, and I believe it says, if I can remember correctly, I think it cautions against thinking like the teacher, and I don't know. I get it in the sense that, yeah, you shouldn't strike a patronizing tone or tell your classmate what sort of grade you would give it. No, no, no. But I do think if it helps you, like, if here's the thing, there are some students who feel like, I don't know what to say, or I'm not the teacher, or I have no idea how to evaluate this essay. First of all, you have questions, okay, guiding questions that are designed to help you come up with a response, so you don't have to just create a critique on your own. Second, even with the questions, if you're unsure of yourself, then think back to the lectures. Okay, think back to what we've been talking about all 4 weeks. I feel like a broken record sometimes because I keep repeating the same stuff over and over again. That you have to have a thesis that previews the main points of your paper. That those 3 points then become the basic structure for your paper, right? So if your thesis says, I'm going to talk about this ad in terms of A, B, and C, you have one paragraph that focuses on A, one body paragraph that focuses on B, one body paragraph that focuses on C. And they're bookended by an introduction and conclusion paragraph. But okay, the basic 5 paragraph essay. I'm not going to repeat it because, again, we've been talking about it for weeks. But if you've been hanging in there and you've been listening to the lectures, or consider my feedback, right, that I've been writing to you. So oftentimes I reinforce these things in my feedback, right? So I'll revisit, here's what a thesis is, or here's what we're aiming for in terms of structure, right? 5 paragraphs. Here's what those 5 paragraphs need to do. So if you ever feel stuck, just think about the stuff we've been talking about all month, okay, and draw upon that. I do think there is a benefit here. It's not just that you're getting feedback from 2 of your classmates in addition to me. That is useful, of course, getting lots of feedback. But also the act of you looking at another person's writing and trying to give thoughtful feedback, that also exercises your brain muscles, right? Because in order to spot that someone doesn't have a clear thesis or doesn't have 3 clear thesis points listed in that thesis, right? You have to have your critical thinking skills have to be turned on and finely attuned to pick up on those things. And if you can pick up on those things, that's a good sign because it means that, yeah, not only can you do these things yourself, but you can spot issues in other people's writings. So, yeah, I do think that there is a powerful wallop that this assignment has kind of built into it, even if maybe to you it just seems like another activity to complete. Um, but yeah, my goal here is I want to give everybody A's. Make sure that you've read the two essays with care and that you've responded helpfully and thoughtfully and specifically, and you should be good, right? You should be golden. Let's see, what else did I want to say about peer review? I feel like there was something else I wanted to say, but it just flew out of my head. I don't know. But do take it seriously, okay? Because honestly, sometimes, lots of times, students notice things that I don't. Or maybe it's stuff that I've noticed, but I don't know, I was focused on other things, right? But no, there have been plenty of times, too many times to mention, students raise points that's like, oh, wow, that's terrific. I'm glad the student mentioned it because I didn't. Or, and you certainly don't get graded on this, so don't panic, but it's awesome when a student's feedback kind of matches my own in some ways, right? So I've already told, you know, Jane that her paper doesn't have a thesis, or that her paper gets off track here, or uh, any number of things, right? And then your critique of Jane's paper says much the same thing. That's terrific. Not only because, again, it's not a requirement that your critiques have to match my own feedback, but it certainly doesn't hurt. Also, it's very, very useful because then most students do trust my feedback, but sometimes they resist. But if they hear it from 3 people, they don't resist. If they're thinking, well, what does the instructor know? Or that's just his opinion. But then if they hear it from 2 other people, then they start to listen. Uh, so yeah. So don't forget, it's due Friday. Okay, that's the longest I can stretch things because Friday really only gives you a couple days to use that feedback. Oh, I'm okay. You don't have to use your peer feedback. Okay, that's a nobody's asked that question yet, but it is a common one. Do I have to follow the advice of my classmate who said fix this or fix that? No, you don't. It doesn't matter if it's your peers or your instructor. Okay, if you disagree with something and you want to stick to your guns, you can do that. Okay, I respect that. Obviously, I still have to evaluate honestly as the instructor as well. But yeah, whether you're a writer, a songwriter, an artist, any field where you typically maybe can't get feedback, yeah, it's always the same. You use the feedback that helps you, and you just ignore the rest. So no, you don't have to use the feedback. Plus, I mean, I do think there are situations wherein it doesn't happen often, but yeah, I think my feedback hopefully is pretty solid because I've been doing this for 30 plus years. But sometimes you might get feedback from someone who is making all sorts of suggestions, but yeah, you're not sure if they're good suggestions. And maybe if you turn to me and ask my opinion, I might say, yeah, I'm not sure those are great suggestions either. So, no, you don't have to feel pressure that your revision has to address all feedback from all three people. Okay. Um, so that's the gist of it. Really, I told you tonight was going to be short and sweet. So, people who have questions, comments. I mean, to recap, just make sure that you do the journal response as you always do, and then revise your essay. Okay, you can read the instructions, but revision is exactly how it sounds. And then, yeah, the peer review activity. Oh, I should. Now I remember what I was going to say. Peer review. It's the one activity I cannot extend, even if I wanted to. It's not me being mean. I have no ability. If I go right into Turnitin right now, these settings that I'm in, and try to change the date, let's say move it forward one day to the 28th instead of the 27th, I'll get an error. I can't do it. So, yeah, you have all week to work on this. You don't even have to have an essay draft submitted to turnitin.com. Um, so, if you want to start already, you can jump in and, yeah, start attacking the peer review. But it ends on Friday, and yeah, there's nothing I can do. Once Friday at midnight passes, it's not something I can open up. Okay, so questions, comments, concerns about anything for the final week or anything that pertains to the class as a whole? As usual, if you're comfortable and happy with what we've gone over, you are free to enjoy the rest of your night. I thank you so much for attending, not just tonight, but all month. And yeah, if you're fine, you're allowed to go. Enjoy the rest of your evening and just send me a question, okay? Send me a message through the platform if you have it. But I'll hang out for a little bit and answer questions if people have them. And I think I will go ahead and stop the recording now. So for people who are watching at home, I'm stopping now. Adios.